movies. The Labor Day weekend is here, and we know since COVID has descended upon humanity, we have been out of the theaters, streaming everything at home, but we're eager to get our butts back into those seats in movie theaters. Joining me now is Fandango correspondent and movie legend, entertainment news legend, Nikki Novak from Good to see you.
So good to see you, my friend. I miss you. I miss having you in Los Angeles.
I miss you too. Hey, I'm here in Miami. Things are okay, but yeah, I'm missing the LA smog. Was that weird? I'm missing the LA smog.
No, it's not weird. It's not weird to miss smog. It grows on you.
like mold. Nikki, the Labor Day weekend is here. Movies have been postponed. Some movies are going straight to streaming services, but we now have movie theaters reopening. The biggest chain in the world, AMC, has said, you know what? Boom, open those doors.
Yeah.
What are the precautions that movie theaters are taking to make sure that people get their butts in those seats?
So Regal, AMC, all the movie theater chains across the country have all taken safety precautions. You know, they've really updated the theaters wherever possible. They've updated the ventilation systems. They have these HEPA filters, these electrostatic sprayers. Basically what they're doing as well, and the major thing for me is that they have these seating maps where they're blocking out a lot of seats. So most theaters will be at 25 to 50% capacity, and they're going to block out chunks of seats between groups. So you're not going to be seated right next to somebody. It's while you have to wear your mask. They've limited concessions in a lot of theaters so that there's no lineups, and so they can move it along a lot quicker. They've put up plastic between the employees, and the employees have undergone a lot of training. So they've really done all that they can to make it safe. And, they've said that they could have opened before, but they waited, a few extra weeks, a few extra months in some cases, and it's still reopening across the country. Theaters are still shut in LA, but in San Diego, they're open, for example.
Right. And here on the East Coast as well, in the tri-state area, opening. With that said, though, the movie industry, Hollywood in general, along with every other industry, has taken a huge hit in regards to box office receipts, box office sales. Tenet was one of the biggest movies that was set to bow earlier this year. Of course, after multiple delays, it is now opening this weekend. Have you had a chance to get a sneak peek? What's the vibe? Are people excited about this movie still after all the delays?
I think it's made people more excited about it. I think the fact that, we've argued for a long time about, is streaming going to replace the movie theater? And what we've learned over time, even before the pandemic, was that it's a symbiotic relationship. Like when I go to see an Avengers movie, I'm going to binge a couple of the previous ones first at home. So it's kind of created, and there's better content than ever. And I think just because there is so much content at home, it's made movies better because people have had to up their game to get people in those seats. But I think overall, the consensus is that I'm hearing from people is that they've missed it. I think just like people miss going to dinner, they miss a lot of things about their normal lives or what was previously their normal lives. It makes them excited and nostalgic to go back to the theaters again. And Tenet has already opened in other countries. It's already made about $50 million worldwide, which was a great indication that people are willing to go back to the theaters. But this is definitely the weekend, Jason, that we're all in Hollywood, and I'm sure across the country too, for movie fans and moviegoers, are looking to see what's going to happen with Tenet. Are people going to go back? I will say, though, that said, that we're cautiously optimistic. It's not going to be the past where movies had to make their money in the first opening weekend or by the second weekend. You're going to see, because Tenet's going to continue to have what we call movie legs as, theaters open up in LA and New York, which are the biggest markets. So you're going to see a longer run of movies and more spread out movies in the theater. So we're going to go back to the old times when we had Titanic playing in the theaters for 3 months.
Actually, I think Titanic came out I would say the fall or the winter of '97 maybe, but I saw it in 1998 in the movie theater. So I feel you on how long things stay in movies. But you mentioned streaming services, Disney Plus, of course, with HBO Max, Disney Plus, in addition to Apple TV Plus. But Disney had the live action reimagination of Mulan, which was again supposed to come into theaters in July, but now you can stream it on Disney Plus with an extra fee. Elaborate on that. It's a little weird. You're paying $7 for the service, but you're additional $30 to watch this movie?
To watch the movie. So here is what Yes. So basically, if you have Disney Plus, which is $7 a month, $6.99 to be fair, save you the penny, you can pay an additional, I believe it's $29.99 for Mulan. Now, once you've paid the $29.99, it's not like one of those rentals that disappears after 48 hours. You can watch it as many times as you want on the Disney app, as long as you have your subscription going. Now, I've heard people say, $30, that's a lot of money. And my argument to that is, how much would it cost? Because Mulan is kind of a family movie, to take your kids to the movies. You know those kids are going to want concessions.
Right.
And you're also, this is really the first big Hollywood blockbuster movie to open straight at home. It was a $200 million budget, and you're paying a premium for that, for having the ability to watch that at home and not have that window where you have to wait to be able to see it at home. So I understand at first being confused by it, like, wait, I have Disney Plus, but that is the thinking. And I also argue that it's to support movies so we can continue to have a movie business. And when you spend $200 million on a movie, you don't expect, obviously, for things to go the way they did. And so it's just an opportunity. And I also argue, how many times you've saved so much money by not going to the movies the last 6 months. So, but I understand too, it's not everybody can afford it. So some people, they decide if they can afford it. Some people just can, and that's fine too.
Right, it's the shock value of, I think we've become a little entitled when it comes to consuming movies in cinema, right? Because great point about, you're going to go to the theaters, you're going to buy a Coke's $10, popcorn's $10, it's a $60 endeavor. But when you visually go onto an app,
right,
that has normally had prices that are like, okay, under $10 and like $30, it's a little jarring, but those are all great points. We're vastly approaching the end of the year. September's upon us now. Normally, we have the conversation of Oscar-worthy, buzz-worthy. What's going to be the hotness in 2021 for award season? What do we think award season is going to be comprised of now that we've had this unprecedented action in regards to the business, it's shutting down, and really not having those movie experiences that we've had in years before? How do you think Hollywood's going to handle that? And how do you think the Academy is going to handle that?
Well, the Academy has already pushed back the awards to April. And they did that a couple of months ago in response. And when people say, whoa, does that mean they're expecting that because usually they're in February, we can't have a red carpet in February? Nobody knows the answer to that. But the reason why they pushed it to April is there's a window of eligibility. So to become eligible for the Academy Awards, you have to show your movie in theaters for a certain number of weeks before it can become eligible. I believe the window of eligibility was like December, beginning of January. So now they have to push that back so that more movies can have an opportunity to be shown in the theaters as time goes on and have an opportunity to compete, so that we're not just saying, okay, well, the movies that did come out already are going to be able to be eligible. Now, in terms of how it's going to look and how many movies, it's so too soon to tell. I wish I could give you a definitive answer, but I feel like there's so much unknown still. We still don't know how many movies will open, and we're cautiously optimistic. I mean, the fact that Tenet is opening this weekend is great, but we don't know what's going to happen. So in terms of the Academy Awards, it's too soon to tell.
I would agree. Black was supposed to be a huge moment for Marvel. What's the update on that? Nikki, to be honest, okay.
Be honest.
Wasn't really excited for a ScarJo-led Marvel movie, only because I wasn't the biggest fan of Black Widow. However, in the MCU, anything goes, right? We saw, and rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, we saw what a huge money cash cow Black Panther was for Marvel, even though that's I wouldn't say a clandestine character in the Marvel universe, but it's definitely a unique choice when it comes to having a full Marvel movie behind that. Now we have Black Widow, which was supposed to be out in May. What's the update? Is it going straight to Disney Plus, or is it just on hiatus like everything else?
It is still set to open in November. That doesn't mean it 100% will open. I know Disney is usually very cautious about changing dates too many times. So what they'll usually do is just to remove a date if they think it's going to change a lot. As far as I know, it is still November. I'm curious though. So if you weren't excited about Black Widow, who are you most excited to see have their own standalone movie?
Great question, Nikki Novak. I would love for maybe, so I'm a huge Marvel head. I think we need to have a Quasar. Also, I would love to see possibly a Another Phoenix movie not done by Fox. Fox murders, brutally castrates the Marvel franchise. I think it needs to be Marvel Studios done. Also, the Fantastic Four, because the Fantastic Four hasn't gotten their due. We had the one that came out with Michael B. Jordan, and I think it was Mara Rooney. I'm sorry, Kate Rooney. Kate Rooney a couple of years ago, but that is a story that needs a subversive, very dark twist. Christopher Nolan did a great job with the Dark Knight trilogy in that going to DC, Batman was kind of made fun of with Joel Schumacher, right? It was very whimsical with Tim Burton in the 90s, in the 90s. And then you had Christopher Nolan who said, okay, let me give you this deep, sadistic, violent Batman. It's like, whoa, I never knew I needed that. I think Fantastic Four could definitely benefit from that type of treatment. Really go deep and gritty with it, and then be like, boom, this is the story we wanted to tell. And Fox and all these studios who don't get it now we'll be like, okay, that's done. A whole new reimagination. Here you go. You're welcome. So I think those would be great for Marvel, and it may happen. Right? We got a Shazam movie. Who would have known?
I mean, I was about to say, tell me how you really feel, Jason, but I got it. I love that you went deep with it. You fully went for it. I so appreciate that.
I mean, look, COVID, Nikki, if COVID has taught us anything, it's like you got to speak your truth whenever you can, because tomorrow's not promised, really.
Yeah, you got to speak your truth and say, and this is also the time where fans do speak up and things happen. Look at the Snyder Cut. You know, the Snyder Cut is now releasing because fans demanded it. Fans wanted it. Fans were vocal. There's social media where people can talk about things. And it started with a couple people. So you could be starting a whole movement right now, Jason, with what you're saying.
We're here on Reddit. People are like, what's going on? Want to ask you though, because you are a critic. You consume a lot of television. You are an expert in movies. You're an expert in journalism. What have you been watching? What has really been sitting with you and resonating with you in quarantine that you think people should really jump on when it comes to either movies or shows that are now streaming?
The first thing that just jumped to my mind was Lovecraft Country. That was the first one. And I don't know if you've watched it, but I read the book first. And it's always the case whenever you read a book before a movie or a TV show, you get so invested in it. And you can't wait to see it. I think you should never do it the other way around. Because I know a lot of people will be like, I'll watch the movie first and then I'll read the book. And you never read the book.
Right.
It is just such, I mean, anything Jordan Peele does, you know, I'm glued to. But I love that they just went for it. They have such great actors on that show. And it's sort of a mix of different genres. There's like a horror element, but there's a social commentary. And I will say, for people who have checked it out and are like, yes, I agree with you, great. But if you haven't, please read the book first because it is masterful. And then you're going to get so much more out of it. I know a few people who have texted me and said, okay, you told me it was so great, but I'm not understanding certain parts of it. I said, well, then you didn't read the book clearly. So that's one. And then I've sort of gone back and I've sort of been watching The Way Back with Ben Affleck. If you haven't seen that movie.
Great movie.
Great movie. And I think when you're talking about Oscars, I think he should be the first nominee for Best Actor for Academy Awards. That is such a... Ben Affleck, what I love about him, what I love about when he played Batman, is that he's very understated. He never pushes. He never pushes the emotion. There's certain actors that are just comfortable on screen in their own skin, and it shows. And they don't overdo it. They don't overact. There's certain actors that act, and then certain actors that are just exist on screen and are very easygoing. And that was his performance, but it was so layered, and it was such a personal story for him.
I think she froze. Oh, you're back. You're back.
I froze for a second in my back. I got a call.
You're so right about The Way Back. I had the opportunity to talk to his co-star, Janina Gavankar, about the movie, and right on the money. It was very personal. We all know it's been in headlines. It's been in the news that Ben Affleck he's on the road to recovery from a lot of things that he's been dealing with. And the thing about that movie is exactly what you said, the understatement of his acting. I will say I did not like the ending because the ending seemed a little predictable. However, that does not detract from how good of an actor Ben Affleck is. Yeah. Forget, fine, Gigli, whatever. That was a moment that we want to forget.
Don't knock my Gigli. I love my Gigli.
If we're talking about the breadth of work of Ben Affleck, Gigli was like, but The Way Back, I would say, is definitely Oscar worthy. What else is Oscar?
I mean, Oscar worthy. It's so soon. You know what I just saw, and I don't know if we're going to talk Oscars here, but Critical Thinking. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's out this weekend, and you probably haven't heard of it, right?
I have
Have
not
you heard
heard.
of it? So it's John Leguizamo who directs and stars in it. It's his directorial debut. It's available on video on demand, and it's like $6.99, and it's on our streaming service Fandango now. By the way, I should say that, but it's the story. It's based on a true story, and it's set in Miami. And it's about this guy that was a teacher. He was a high school teacher, and his students, came from rough neighborhoods and had rough upbringings. And he teaches them how to play chess. And then they go to this national chess championship. And I just watched it last night, and it's just one of those, like, if I didn't mention it, you probably wouldn't have heard of it, and it goes under the radar. But like, if you like The Way Back, that's why it popped in my head, because it kind of has that feeling to it about a coach championing young people. It has so many social messages in it. He was, it's perfect that it's coming out now, but it really, it really portrays a realistic look at it while still being inspiring, So I would recommend that one. I don't know about Academy Awards, but that's one that I would recommend.
Hey, a good feel good movie recommendation right now is needed, trust me, because we binged everything. And also, there's so much going on in the world that you want to escape. And escapism, even though some people look at it as a bad thing, that's what movies and television is. It's a form of escape. And the better the escapism, the better the TV, the better the escapism. I always
That
say.
said, did you watch Bill and Ted? Did you watch Bill and Ted?
No, and I
Okay.
got Alex Winter at the John Wick 3 Parabellum premiere, and he was like really mum about it, but I did not watch it. I haven't seen the first two either. I'm that bad 90s kid.
No, but it makes sense because I know a lot of people who haven't seen it. And to be honest with you, I had never seen the second one, but I interviewed the cast. And so I was like, oh yeah, I've seen it. I hadn't seen the second one, but I had seen the first one a couple of times. But when you're talking about pure escapism, like that was our number one movie last weekend on Fandango now. I think it's the number one movie across the country in terms of streaming. And it's because, like, you're right, people are wanting feel good. Like they want to laugh. And I think if anything, what's going to start happening, because I don't know if you feel the same way, but when I'm streaming at home, as much as I like the stuff that's a little bit darker, I really appreciated going back and watching the old rom-coms and that. There's like that nostalgia and that, like, let's just watch something light that we can laugh at. So that one, I think that's the reason. I think there was a lot of people, I know people that ended up watching this one. They'd never seen the first two, and they still followed along, and it was like, I just needed that laugh, that escape, and the two of them are so good together. I had fun watching that one.
It's so funny. It took like 30 some years for it to come to fruition, but hey, better late than. I feel you on the nostalgia and the feel good. That's why, Black Lives Matter right now is a huge conversation. Netflix and streaming services have definitely pushed to the forefront that content for the viewers on Netflix. Moesha, you have all these great 90s sitcoms that do feel good. So I'm 100% with you on that. Before we go though, Nikki, boom, recap. So some theaters are opening. Tenet may be the big star this weekend, and Mulan is bowing on Disney Plus for an additional $30. That's where we're at.
Yes, that's where we're at. So we're all going to be looking to see what happens with Tenet. I don't know if Disney will report their numbers, probably not. But yeah, we'll be looking to see how people go back to the movies and sort of what their experience is like. I know journalists that I know, and I'm sure you know, that have gone to see press screenings in states where the theaters are open, have just gone like, whoa, like I'm so happy to be back in the theater and that they felt safe. And so hopefully it goes well.
Here's hoping. Nikki, correspondent for Fandango. Guys, go and download the Fandango app and check out everything wonderful Fandango has to offer. Nikki, where can they find you on social media?
At Nikki Novak, eating pasta for breakfast.
I am here for every single carbful bite. Every single carbful bite. Nikki, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, my friend. See you soon.
Bye.
Mwah.
All right, you guys. Cold Pop Truth with Nikki Novak from Fandango, guys. I don't know if movie theaters are open in your cities or in your towns, make sure you take precautions and social distancing and follow the rules. Go and enjoy some time at the theater, and welcome back. I know going to the movies is one of America's favorite pastimes. I know it's one of mine, and it's nice to be able to have that option after months of not being able to step foot in a theater. So that's going to do it for me for the Cold Pop Truth. I'm Jason Carter coming to you from Miami, Florida.